Chapter 6 Trials of the Night. Rio braced himself as darkness settled over the castle, a cloak of near-tangible dread. The vampires had dispersed, melting into the shadows with murmurs of anticipation, leaving him to contend with whatever horrors Aleris had prepared. The echo of her final challenge seemed to reverberate through the halls. Survive until dawn. He was alone but for the flickering torches that cast unsettling shadows against the walls. Every sound was amplified, a distant drip of water, the whisper of wind through broken windows, and deeper, more sinister noises that he couldn't place. The night was alive, and with it, the promise of peril. Rio's first test came swiftly. A low growl resonated through a nearby corridor, growing louder as a massive shape detached itself from the darkness. The creature was a hound, but far larger than any natural beast, its eyes burning with an unholy fire, its fangs bared in a snarl. It charged, muscles rippling under ghostly fur. Rio met the beast with sword drawn, sidestepping its initial lunge with a grace born of necessity. He swung his blade in a wide arc, aiming for the creature's side, but the sword passed through it as if slicing air. It was a specter, not flesh and blood. Realization dawned, and with it a strategy shift. He recalled legends of phantom beasts, vulnerable only to silver or magic, neither of which he possessed. Using agility as his defense, Rio dodged the hound's attacks while searching for an environmental advantage. His opportunity came as he led the hound toward one of the castle's ancient tapestries, depicting a fierce battle. With a calculated risk, he pulled down the heavy fabric at the moment the beast charged again, entangling it in the thick, dusty cloth. The phantom snarled and thrashed, momentarily confused, allowing Rio to slip away, his heart pounding with a close call. No sooner had he escaped the hound than the next challenge presented itself. Whispers in the darkness coalesced into tangible threats, shadows that moved against the natural order, twisting into the forms of armed specters. Remembering the hound, Rio knew these were not beings to fight directly, but to outmaneuver. He used his environment, knocking over a candelabra to create a barrier of fire, running through doors and up staircases to lose his relentless pursuers. As the night wore on, each encounter left Rio more drained, both physically and mentally. Yet, with each test his resolve hardened. Aleris had demanded he prove his worth, and he would not falter now. Hours passed, marked only by the shifting of the moon through the fractured glass of high windows. When Rio faced what felt like an insurmountable wave of fatigue, the final challenge of the night appeared. Aleris herself stepped from the shadows in the grand hall, her presence commanding and full of cold beauty. "You have survived thus far," she acknowledged, her voice echoing slightly. "One last test remains." As she approached, and the air around her seemed to chill even further. "Defend yourself," she commanded, and without another word, attacked. Her movements were a blur, almost impossible to predict. Rio defended with dwindling strength, each parry requiring more effort, each dodge slower than the last. Aleris's strikes were precise, designed not just to test but to teach, the lesson clear in every forceful impact that Rio was barely able to block. As the first light of dawn began to seep into the sky, Aleris ceased her assault. She stepped back, studying Rio with a new respect as he stood before her, exhausted but unyielding. "You have proven yourself," she said at last, her voice no longer cold but not yet warm. "I will hear your proposal." Breathing heavily, Rio straightened up, meeting her gaze with a mixture of relief and anticipation. "Thank you," he managed to say, his voice hoarse. "I believe together we can face the darkness." Aleris nodded, and as the light of dawn filled the hall, the night's trials ended, leaving the promise of a fraught but hopeful alliance.